Alhamdulillah, salatu salam ala rasulullah, ma ba'd. So we started off with Tawakkul last week, and we looked at the Shaykh's introduction, rahimahullah, talking about certainty and Tawakkul, yaqeen and Tawakkul and reliance. And we stopped it here until we were interrupted. And bi'idhnillah, this is where we'll take off, we'll carry on from. And inshallah, hopefully trying to recover what we left last week and do what we wanted to do this week. I've added 2 extra chapters which was planned for today. So we're going to cover what we were supposed to cover last week and finish off, what we're supposed to do for this week. And hopefully it won't take too much of your time, inshallah. So Tawakkul, we carry on from where we left off with the Tawakkul. And Tawakkul means to rely upon Allah, but it has 2 aspects to it. And the first one is to know and have certain faith that Allah is going to aid you. Whatever situation you're in, Allah will help you. And you just carry on doing the right thing and remaining patient upon that. And the other thing, which is part of Tawakkul, which nobody negates except for the people who are not firm in Tawakkul themselves and not firm in Iman, is taking the means. Taking the necessary means. You need to take the necessary means for your reliance to be correct and for your objective to be achieved. And like we said last week, even animals don't leave this one. An animal is not going to stay in their nest or in their home thinking that they're going to get fed. They fly, they walk, they go and try, and they take the necessary means to get their food, to get their provisions, whilst having tawakkul in Allah. And I think that's quite common sense. And even if you look at what the ulama say about Tawakkul, they put a lot of emphasis on this one, which is correct. But what I wanted to put is emphasis on the first one, which is to know that Allah will aid you. Because if you don't realize this, then it can also possibly be a means towards shirk and even nifaq. And it's very, very dangerous and it's very, very delicate. How can this one lead you towards shirk and nifaq? What do you think? Yeah.
Shirk, it could be think that Allah's not the one that aids you, it could be like an amulet or something.
Exactly. So shirk can lead you thinking that your aid is in other than Allah. And the reason why this is very dangerous is because nobody would admit to that. Nobody would admit to that. So a person might, for example, wear an amulet like you've said, and say, no, Allah's going to help me, then why are you wearing the amulet? Just because, just in case, or maybe there is something in it, that reduces their level of tawakkul. And it could, if they actually believe that that thing is going to aid them, then it could actually lead to shirk. That is shirk, but nifaq is different. How is nifaq potentially very different or dangerous here? What do you think? What is nifaq?
Hypocrisy.
What is hypocrisy? What is double standards? When you try to proclaim and show that you have iman, big beard, nice though, hijab, praying salat, but inside your heart's not firm, you're not really there. Now a person could have nifaq where they actually say, you know what, I pretend that I believe in Allah, but I don't actually believe in Allah. May Allah protect us. But nifaq is of levels, and this could also be an act of nifaq where a person says, yes, I'm trusting in Allah and I'm trusting in Allah, I'm doing what I need to do, but inside he doesn't actually believe that Allah is going to help him. And I've actually had a discussion with somebody once, and this was actually whilst we were in Saudi, and he had some problems with his employer. So I was trying to give him some nasiha and stuff like that. And I goes, I can just have some sabr and remain doing dua. He goes, whether I make dua or I don't make dua, Allah is not going to happen. This is what he said to me. Beard, pray salah and everything. Isn't that nifaq? Of course that's a form of nifaq, because now he actually believes. His statement has come out and he's actually believing that whether I make dua or not, it's not going to change anything. Now Allah knows best what he meant by that, because nifaq, i'tiqad, in your heart, you can't really, that's between you and Allah. Nobody really knows what he meant by that. But this is very dangerous. So tawakkul, obviously, like we've said, is of two factors, is what I'm looking for. One, you have to be certain that Allah is going to aid you. And the other one is that you need to take the necessary means. Okay, now we have some hadith where the Shaykh has brought talking about Tawakkul, and this is the well-known long hadith, I'm sure you've all heard of it, about the 70,000 who will enter Jannah. Who are those 70,000 that will enter Jannah without any account or any punishment? They are those who do not make ruqya, those who never perform shirk, firstly, and they don't make ruqya, and they don't ask for other people to make, they don't ask for other people, they make ruqya, they don't ask for other people to make ruqya. Let me get that straight. They don't do shirk. They don't go around asking other people, please do ruqya for me. They don't seek supplication from other people. They don't have omens and amulets and superstitions that they believe in. And this is the main bit here. They will enter Jannah without any reckoning, without any punishment, without any questioning, because of Tawakkul. Because of Tawakkul. So Uqasha ibn Mihsan said, "Oh Rasulullah, make me one of them, make dua so I can be one of them." So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Yes, you are one of them." Then another man stood up and said, "Make me one of them." And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Uqasha has surpassed you." Now this is a long hadith and there's many benefits from it, but this is the main thing that we want to get here, that you could potentially go to Jannah without any punishment, without any reckoning, just because of your level of tawakkul. But that tawakkul now, how does that translate? Does that mean that I just sit at home and say, yes, I'm going to trust in Allah, trust in Allah, trust in Allah? No, that doesn't mean that. And in actual fact, if you look at what this hadith is saying, is that they were engaging with all the difficulties in life, but still they were reliant. And they took the necessary means, but they were reliant. Entering into Jannah without reckoning and without account for these people, they took their means, but they depended on Allah, even while they were very desperate. A person now, whilst he's in the hospital, the doctor is maybe saying that he's not got long to live, his arteries are blocked and stuff like that. How much would he give to leave that situation alive? He'd probably give his whole house, he'd probably give everything, just to live, even if it's just a little bit longer. In their most desperate situation, they still had tawakkul. They didn't go around asking people, make ruqya for me. They didn't panic, they remained firm upon Allah. And some of the ulama have said that when you're in that state, one of the mashayikh, I remember him saying that his father was in the deathbed and he was getting treatment and stuff like that. But they said at the end of the treatment that, you know what, we've done as much as you can, your father's not, his vitals haven't changed, nothing's changing. And we can't do anything more now. We're just going to leave the situation, and if he passes, he passes, and if he gets better, he gets better. You know what the Shaykh said? He goes, that was the actual moment that our iman went up. All this time we were depending on the doctors and the machines and the medication, and that at that time his father was on the deathbed, who was also a Shaykh, said at that time, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah for this. Look, they've told him we can't help you anymore, and his situation, Alhamdulillah. Look at the iman and tawakkul, that when medicine didn't work, they went into having yaqeen. They went into having tawakkul. They went into depending on Allah. But because when you're in that situation, when you're connected to the machines and medicine, that's when you're on your deathbed. Imagine when you're free and you're not even thinking about death. Imagine when you're walking through life and you're getting everything that you want and all your desires are being fulfilled, your level of tawakkul goes down. The Prophet ﷺ used to supplicate for having tawakkul, and he used to make tawassul in his iman in Allah. He used to say, "Oh Allah, I've submitted to you and I've believed in you and I have tawakkul in you and I repent to you. Oh Allah, make my affairs easy." And you are the one, and he praises him thereon. But he's asking Allah and he's supplicating to Allah, he's making tawassul through Allah, through his iman and his tawakkul in him. Also when Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was getting thrown into the fire, and as he's getting catapulted into the fire, Jibreel alayhi salam came to him, and whilst he's flying mid-air, he goes to him, "Is there anything that you want that I can do for you right now?" What did Ibrahim say? What would you say? Stop me from getting into that fire. Just do anything. What did he say? Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Look at that. Desperate. This is what I'm trying to say. All of these are hadith. Look at this one. Desperate. Desperate. You know, and that didn't change them slightly. That's when we're talking about. Now Imam Nawawi brings a hadith here talking about the situation of the birds. And this is what I was saying earlier, is that even the animals know and they realize what tawakkul is. And this relates to us in our daily lives. Not when you are desperate. When you are happy. When you are comfortable. When you have your all your ability to do whatever you want. How are you going to go? What is your mentality? The Prophet ﷺ, sorry, not this one, there's another hadith that comes, but the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith is talking about those people entering to Jannah as a result of their tawakkul. And in hadith number 78, the Prophet ﷺ, and again another lengthy hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said here, Jabir said he went on an expedition towards the direction of Najd, towards the east of Saudi Arabia, what we see today. Messenger, when he returned to Messenger, the Prophet ﷺ also returned, and I returned at the same time. Then they had a midday sleep, and the Messenger ﷺ got down, and the people scattered around seeking their shades under the trees. The Messenger ﷺ hung his sword up on a branch, and they were sleeping. And the man came up to the Prophet ﷺ, and imagine now, this is the situation. The Prophet ﷺ, they were gone on an expedition. The Prophet is sleeping under a tree, and they hung their swords up because they were relaxing. So a Bedouin mushrik man came, and he took one of the swords, and he was over the head of the Prophet ﷺ. And he had his sword over the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, "Who will protect you from me?" Again, all of these are desperate. All of this is death in your face. What did he say? This is his answer. Reliance. Absolute reliance. There's nothing that you can do to prevent the situation. Allah has sent me as a messenger, and there's nothing that you can stop that. And he sat down, he didn't punish him. And later on, he became a Muslim on top of that. Umar radiallahu anhu said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying, if you depend on Allah with due reliance, He will certainly give you the provision like the provision of the birds. And this is what I was referring to just a minute ago. Is that even the birds know how to have tawakkul, and they go out once they got all full ability, and they have them, they use those two faculties of tawakkul. Rely on Allah and take your necessary means. Another hadith here, Bara ibn Azib said, the Messenger asked me to recite whenever I go to bed. Again, similar to what we have seen before here, supplications, asking Allah to make us of those who have tawakkul, because you cannot have tawakkul unless Allah gives you the tawfiq to do so. You will not be able to do that. You will not have that connection with Him. Allah allows you to get closer to Him, and Allah aids you and shows you how to have tawakkul. Imagine now, like we've seen in any situation, that whenever something happens, people just jump and they act with their emotions and their impulse reaction. A person is being thrown into the fire, but he is yet calm. A person has a sword over his head and he is lying down, he's just woken up, but he is calm. That can only come as a result of dua and training and making your iman stronger. And one of the biggest things is dua. You can't get guidance, and you will not ever be able to do good deed except through the guidance of Allah, and that can only come about if you ask for it. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq said, when the Messenger of Allah and I were in the cave of Thawr, I saw the feet of the polytheists who were above us at the mouth of the cave. We know the situation, yeah? They were hiding in the cave, and they were driving them out of Makkah, and Rasulullah was with Abu Bakr. So the Prophet ﷺ told him to relax. What do you think of two people where Allah is their third? Where Allah is their third. How did Allah get with him? How did Allah support him? How did Allah reassure him? How was Abu Bakr reassured in his life? Abu Bakr was a Siddiq. He was known to be truthful from the very outset. When the Prophet ﷺ said something, as long as he said it, he would believe in it, no matter how far-fetched it might seem to other people. This was his iman, and this was his result. It could have been Ali that was with the Prophet ﷺ. It could have been anyone. It could have been Umar. It would have made probably more sense to me and you. If I want to make hijrah from a volatile and hostile place, I'm going to get the strongest man to come with me. He got Abu Bakr. So it's not strength that equates to physical strength. Here we're talking about iman. And it was these two people that Allah protected. And the Prophet ﷺ said that he is with them. And when he said that, do you think Abu Bakr panicked? It was just calmness after that. Again, this is what I'm trying to say. We have Prophet ﷺ himself with death being threatened to him. A man being thrown into fire who was also a Khalil. Now we have a Siddiq who was the Khalil of the Khalil. And this is their reliance. And this is our Salaf. This is our role model. These are our examples. Another hadith, Salama, whenever the Prophet ﷺ stepped out of his house, he used to say, Bismillah, Tawakkaltu ala Allah. And the rest of the hadith. But here, what we learn from this also is that what we learn from this also, sorry, just scrolling down. What we learn from this also is that there's another narration here, is that when you leave your house, and I've said this before, when you leave your house, what do you think is waiting for you when you leave your house? You open the door and you come outside the house. What's the first thing that's there? The doormat. Something that's worse than the doormat. Shaitan. How many?
Uncountable.
Just one, just uncountable. Prophet ﷺ said that there are two. I don't know it's best how they are, but if you imagine you open your door. Now imagine if you open your door and there's a robber there, or two robbers there, or two people at gunpoint, two people with a nuclear machine. The weapon that these lot are using is far worse than death. Because the weapon that they are trying to use is to make you fall into shirk, eternal hellfire. So when you open that door, you've got two people there, which is worse than a nuclear machine, and they're just targeting straight at you. So what's the weapon? What is your solution? What can you do to get out of it? This is the dua. Bismillah. When you say Bismillah, you can't do anything. When you say Tawakkul to Allah, you know what they say to each other? How can you deal with a man who has been guided, defended and protected? You leave with this dua and with these adhkar, you're protected. And the shaitan, at least these two, will leave you alone. Now imagine you carry on in this state where you are making adhkar and you leave your house and you are asking, Oh Allah, inni a'udhu bika an adilla or dal. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from being misguided or misguiding others, or falling or oppressing or falling into some kind of ignorance. This is the dua that you make as you leave your house. What's going to be, how are you going to go about the rest of your day? If you are preparing yourself with the name of Allah on a constant basis, then that tawakkul and that iman will just rise. Some of the Salaf said that hold on to a sunnah even if it's the way of clipping your nails. Even if it's clipping your nails. What that would create for you now is that you will give veneration to even the way the Prophet ﷺ used to cut his nails. Something very small. If you're going to do that, then the big things will come about. Just through the barakah following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's one thing. But also, it gives you a system to follow in your life. You can't formulate your own system to withhold these attacks. You need to be given something to keep that barrier there and to protect yourself. You can only have that if you take it seriously, if you take Iman seriously and have Tawakkul. So summary of this chapter here, we have a few things here. If you look at these hadith, again we're talking about desperation. If people think and contemplate on their greatest fear, and at the same time their most quenching aspiration, now we have hope and fear. If you think about both of these paradigms on both of these sides, usually when people are thinking about their greatest fear or their most biggest of ambition, if people are honest with themselves, they're normally worried about the dunya. What's going to happen after I study, after I finish my studies? How am I going to get married? All of these things. I want to get married eventually. Hope and fear. Usually people are worried about the dunya. But we've been told time again that this dunya is not permanent. It's going to fade. So the question now is, do we think that by fulfilling the commandments we won't be given what we hope and what we fear, or something greater than that. Now, your level of hope and your level of fear is imperfect. It's very, very limited. If you speak to a child, what do you want to do today? He'll say, I want to watch cartoons. It's very, very limited. It's very, very shallow. He doesn't know that there's so much more that he can do to enrich himself and to become a better person, and much more fun activities. And this is how we are as well. No matter how old you get, we will always be asking for things that we just think that we need. But by following the religion, having iman and tawakkul, Allah will give you the stuff that you want, maybe even better than what you actually want or what you fear, but He will also aid you in the things that you don't even imagine that are harmful for you. But again, that can only come about if there is a level of if there is a level of connection. Because what happens is when you lose that connection, the hope in the dunya and the yaqeen and the tawakkul in the dunya goes up. Just like what we were talking in the very beginning, that sometimes tawakkul can also even be a form of nifaq, where people have iman and tawakkul in something other than Allah, or they believe that Allah can't or won't maybe even help them. But that actually happens, and that happens to people. Even if people have a really big beard and they praise Allah and they are very practicing Muslims, if you go through these steps here, you can see that how if you fall after one another, you can end up here. But if you make it strong, and if you realize that, look, I am imperfect, and I'm having tawakkul in Allah, and I have hope and fear, but I'm going to try and continue doing what Allah Jalla wa Ala requires of me and continue making dua, fulfilling the commandments, then I know that my dunya will be made easy, and I know that my akhirah will be made easy. But it all has to start with certainty and tawakkul. Because many people, unfortunately, this is the lowest level now, they fear losing the dunya more than fear of losing their Lord. Because they end up becoming here. You see how these questions just make a person spiral downward because of the lack of iman, lack of certainty and lack of tawakkul. May Allah make us steadfast. The chapter of steadfastness. Steadfastness. What is steadfastness? Imam al-Nawawi doesn't really go on to what is steadfastness, but some of the ulama have talked about what steadfastness is. Steadfastness, number one, is to know that you're being created for a purpose. If you don't know what that purpose is, how can you have steadfastness? You're going to be lost. One day you'll be here, another day you'll be there, another day you might just say everyone's right. It's fine. That's not steadfastness. You're not going to be firm on principles. But then is it okay for you to say, okay, I believe in La ilaha and I've been put here so I can worship Allah, but then just become really relaxed, not pray, not do anything about it? Is that steadfastness? Steadfastness is to know that you've been here for a purpose and you are consistent. You know your purpose and you remain consistent on that purpose. If I say to you, let's go to London now, we jump onto the M1. Where are we going? London. Fair enough. 20 minutes down the road, you take an exit and you go up to Northampton. You've lost your purpose and you've lost your consistency. Are you steadfast now? We're lost. It's the same thing. Some of the ulama said is to know, and then added to this, is to know that you have an enemy, and what he wants you to do is to lose these two things. Some people, they know why they've been created and they want to remain steadfast. And you look at them and you think, okay, this guy is a really good brother. He prays, he studies, everything's there, he ticks all the boxes. But there's so many things that are going on with this person's life because he's not conscious of the fact that shaitan is duping him. And it happens a lot, unfortunately, that even some of the best of us, shaitan will make you seem that you're doing something good, but what he's doing is he's dropping your level of consciousness. And then these two get compromised. How many people do you find they're doing ghibah openly? Big beard, he's doing ghibah. This brother he did this brother he did that. And everyone thinks, yeah, okay, well, he's telling us for a particular reason. Allah knows best. But if the person is not conscious, then this is just one example. I mean, I'm sure there's many examples of how people can not perceive that there is an enemy there. Once you drop your guard, then that steadfastness is all over the place. That enemy wants to take you off that path. And these 2 points above is only actualized. How can you remain steadfast? What do you think? How can you remain steadfast? A brother comes to you, says, brother, give me some advice. I mean, I'm messing around too much and I've got some weaknesses. What do you advise me to do? What would you say to him? Seek knowledge. Of course, obviously in a roundabout way. You wouldn't say go to Medina or something. But you need to be around those people who are going to remind you. You need to be around those people who are going to advise you. You need to be around those people who are going to tell you to do good things or not bad things. This is all knowledge. And obviously with knowledge comes practice. So these are some of the keys that you need to remain steadfast. Again, here we're looking at consistency, we're looking at conscious. Look at these buzzwords that are here. Purpose. All of this is steadfastness. Imam al-Nawawi, فَاسْتَقِمْ كَمَا أُمِرْتَ وَمَنْ تَابَ مَعَكَ وَلَا تَطْغَوْا. Here, this ayah. Be steadfast, because this is what you have been commanded to do. Who is he talking to? Ibrahim. He's talking to the best of mankind. And Allah Jalla wa Ala says to the best of mankind, what's happening here? Have they attacked the monitor? The best of mankind, be steadfast. Because this is what Allah has told the Rasul of Allah to do. The best of mankind in the dunya, whilst you are here 63 years, for 23 of those years, be steadfast. And then there's going to be people around you who have repented, make them steadfast also. But is it stopping there? This is my point here. Now look here. We have affirmation and we have negation. Yeah? It doesn't stop there. Allah just doesn't say be steadfast and then that's it. Don't turn away. Don't drop your guard. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ. Okay, so what happens if you are steadfast? Allah Jalla wa Ala in this ayah is telling us that if you remain steadfast, He will recompense that steadfastness with the moment that you need it the most. If you try and be the best person that you can possibly can, even though it's very difficult, even though there's a lot of waves attacking you from different directions, Allah is saying here that those people who said Allah is my Lord and they remain steadfast, that's their motto in life. Stop. That's what you do every single day. But what happens now? This ayah is talking about how you will end. The time of death, the time that you need it the most. What will happen? The angels will come down. So when it's your turn, the angel will come down. Now imagine now, he can see things that nobody else can see. He's going through a Yawm al-Qiyamah right now. That's what's happening. So he is looking and he's seeing things that unseen is becoming seen to him. And these angels are falling down in front of him. If this box is ticked, what do they say to him? They will say to him, brother, we're going to take you, don't worry. Don't be scared about where we're going to take you. And don't be sad about leaving all of this behind. You're safe. وَأَبْشِرُوا. Not only do they say don't be scared and don't be sad, we're taking you to a better place. Come with us. Nicely. Nicely. And we're promising you of a Jannah because this is what you have been promised. For what? For this. Iman, Tawheed, Ikhlas. and being steadfast on it, knowing that you've got an enemy and he wants to take you away from that. If you don't have that, what's going to happen? Let's stop here. If you don't have that now, what's going to happen when you die? You think that the ayah is going to apply to you? What's going to happen if the malaika don't come? Nothing. Nothing from the unseen. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Shaitan knows, and we've seen this in different hadith, that this is the moment. You can worship, he'll let you worship. 60 years, 100, 1,000 years, worship, fine. The moment that he knows that the angels are coming down for you, that's the moment that he's going to make himself most forceful in his life, in your life. Narrations say, you'll come in the shape of your parents, my son, Isa is the son of God, worship him. Don't disobey me. Do it. That's if you don't have istiqam. If you're firm, you'll say, no, I'm sorry, mother. I can't listen to that. Or even still, you are Iblis. You are Shaitan. Some of the ulama, they've had Shaitan come to them at the time of their death. And they've said, you have won, you have beaten me. Imam Ahmad said, La ba'du, not yet. Because he knows now, if he was to say, yes, I have won, what's he going to end with? He's going to end with arrogance. He's going to end with no istiqamah. He's waiting for the angels. So if he's seen this Iblis come to him, the angels haven't come, it's not happened yet. Istiqamah is improved. Then the angels will say, whilst they are taking him, we're taking you to a better place, we're taking you to a Jannah that Allah has promised you because of your istiqamah. And they take him, and they say to him, we are your friends, we were your friends in the life of this dunya. Whilst you were steadfast, we were with you. We were writing everything down. We were supporting you. And even the ulama say that actually angels, if you remain steadfast, they actually whisper in your ear. And then you get wasawis in one of the ears, the angels whisper in your other ear, encouraging you to do good. نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. In the akhirah, you're going to be with us. And you're going to have all the pleasures that you want. And this is a promise and a mercy from your Lord. Steadfastness, when you need it the most. Those people who remain steadfast, again, this is another promise of Jannah. But what we learned that is a bit different in this hadith or this ayah is that Allah will never let your steadfastness go to waste. Every day you're waking up for Fajr, when you're about to die, do you think you're going to come Yawm al-Qiyamah and Allah's not going to be appreciated? Allah is a shakur. Allah is a ra'uf. Allah is ever watchful over everything that you do. Your steadfastness will never get to waste. And your steadfastness will never lead you astray. Now, it's unfortunate, I mean, you look at people here, in the dunya, there will be steadfastness on anything, their business, their career, the football team they support. But it's just one little thing that triggers it and they can just leave it. You were doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, brother. What happened? Nah, I just got fed up of it. But Iman will not let you down. Iman and steadfastness on it will never lead you astray. Hadith number 85, Sufyan ibn Abdullah reported, I said, Messenger of Allah, O Messenger of Allah, tell me something of which I can do, something which I will not ask from, and I can get this information from somebody else. He said, Qul amantu billah, thumma istaqim. Say, I believe in Allah. Say, I believe in Allah, and then be firm. Just like the ayah. This has become their slogan in life. You do this. But unfortunately, we are weak and we are deficient. And if you let your Iman wear out because of your weakness and repeated deficiency, what's going to happen? Hadith number 86, follow the right path of the faithful strictly and be steadfast. And keep in mind that none of you can achieve salvation through his good deeds. So they said, none of us can go to Jannah without good deeds, Ya Rasulullah. Not even you. The Prophet ﷺ said, not even me, unless if Allah have mercy upon me. What do you think? Why is that relevant? That is extremely relevant, because the Prophet ﷺ himself is saying here that he is doing everything that what Allah has told him to do. He is Islam. He is the Quran moving, as Aisha radiallahu anha said. But even then, we still need Allah. We still need Allah's assistance. So to summarize what we've seen here, how can we gain steadfastness? Steadfastness is to understand what Islam is. Islam is not a religion of peace, it's part of it. Islam is not just to say La ilaha illallah and you can do whatever you want. Islam is submission. And once you realize that this is the religion that you have signed up for, in your heart, in your actions, in your statement, then you need to take this seriously, because nothing is that serious, nothing is that important to you unless you take it seriously. If it's not important to you, then you're going to be sometimes doing it and sometimes not doing it. But if you know that Jannah is there and Jannah is not cheap, then how are you going to get there? How can you remain steadfast? So number one, understand what Islam is and what Islam wants from you. Number two, not to give priority to the creation. Don't give priority to the creation. What does that mean? Don't live for the dunya. Don't live for other people. Live for what Allah Jalla wa Ala has promised you in His happiness and what He has prepared for you for everlasting, eternal happiness. You can only be steadfast if you know how. Again, this is going back to point number one, but it's just an elaboration of that. Is to know the rights of Allah and the rights of the creation. A person can never be steadfast if he's oppressing other people. If he's pressing himself, if he's pressing and going against the rights of Allah. You need to take it seriously. Some of the ulama actually have included steadfastness as being manners. How can a person be deemed as being steadfast when his manners are bad? When his etiquettes are bad? When he doesn't smile? When he doesn't speak to people? He doesn't know how to treat elderly. He doesn't know how to treat the youngsters. He doesn't know how to talk to people on their level. This is very important today. Wallahi al-Azim, I was in Saudi Arabia and we were sitting having lunch. There's about 3-4 of us. And some of them are actually people who are studying the religion also. And what we did is we started talking about the Ummah, politics, Burma, Syria. You know what some of them were saying? And you probably have heard this before, and people probably would think like this, and I personally don't agree with it. There's going to be a huge genocide in the West. Muslims are going to get killed, or you're going to get pushed out, and Islam is going to suffer, and the Yahud are going to take over, and you know, all of these things that people, what is that? Is that optimistic? Has Allah promised you reward? Has Allah promised you given you a way out? Has Allah said that if you unite, then the cure is there? Has Allah told you of all these ways that you can be optimistic and have good thoughts in Allah? Of course there is. So what's the point of being negative? Even if the situation is negative, there's no point. When people start being pessimistic, when people start saying that our enemy are stronger than us, when people start saying Shaitan is going to win, then that cannot be steadfastness. You're just in a defeatist mentality. And then if something does happen, look, I told you so. What's the point? Not to give precedence of the dunya. Okay, so we've got that again. So here, these are some of the summary. This is some of what we can say about steadfastness. But I think the main thing here is if you realize what we've said in the very beginning, and I think this probably summarizes it better, which is that to know that you've been created for a purpose, remain firm on that purpose, and remain certain that there is something out there, whether it's a family member, whether it's something that you can see, maybe it's a weakness, maybe it's a substance, maybe it's another person that you've got an attachment to, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a habit, but those things there will try and take you away from steadfastness. And it's unfortunate that even the best of people now can't be steadfast. You're alone, there's nobody around, mobile phone, you can watch anything, you can listen to anything. Nobody's going to challenge you. Nobody's going to question you. That is going to remove your steadfastness. Definitely. So be conscious of that. And the more you try and remove that from yourself, the more firmer you will become. And the more firmer you will become, the better it is for you. Not only at the time of death, but also you will see a lot more fruits in your life. You will see you become a better person. You'll see more energy. You'll see more, enthusiasm towards good. And more optimism. And all these things, all these boxes start getting ticked. You won't be concerned about the creation. You will not be concerned about the dunya. You will not be negative. Your manners will become better. Your etiquette will become better. Your istislam and your submission towards Allah will become better. The next chapter, well, it's not really a chapter. Imam al-Nawawi just brings a few ayat which talk about pondering on the greatness of Allah's creation, that this dunya is going to end. It's not permanent. It's transient. And the position of the people in the akhirah who realize that, the dunya is not their permanent home, and that man is always going to be deficient. Man is always going to have shortcomings. One of the biggest fitnas that people have, but you can apply this actually to anything, to be honest. What do you think is the biggest fitna for people? I'm asking.
Money.
Money. Okay, good. Anything else? Money, food, opposite gender, let's say. Status. Okay. All of this is in the dunya. Okay, let's extend this as well. Let's say technology, but what I mean by technology is I mean cars and houses and gadgets and phones and all of that, and clothes. Okay. The purpose of this, and me putting this like this, is that every single one of these is in the dunya. Every single one of these will detract you from pondering on the greatness of Allah if you don't use it correctly. It will distract you from realizing that the dunya is not your permanent home. It will not make you realize that there is something far greater and something which you cannot even imagine prepared for you. And it will make you more deficient. It will make your shortcomings even more elevated. But not only is there a problem with yourself, there's actually a problem on this board also. There's not one of these things except they are deficient. They are not, from the greatness of Allah. They are not permanent. All of these things are going to end. All of these things are going to end. But if you look at the last one, the shortcomings bit, you have a car, you have a house, you have a phone, let's take a house. That's probably the most expensive one here. Okay? More than money itself, a house. A big house. You want to buy a big house, 600, 700 grand. What is it? It's a nice big house, yeah? Let's take it, let's reverse the situation and get the house. Yes, I'm going to draw now. A house, just so that you can visualize it. That's not 500,000, don't worry about it. But this house, what's it? Let's take it step by step. This is one of my mashayikh, he did this. Not like this, but you got a house. What's the house made out of? Bricks. What's a brick made out of? Sand. And maybe some mud. Where did that come from? Let's say water. So the asal of all of this is that it's just that. No matter how much you make a wall, make it look beautiful, you get sand and you get cement, you build it, you make it look nice, you throw millions at it, and make it a nice wall. What is it at the end of the day? At the end of the day, it's absolutely nothing. Something that you wouldn't even pay a penny for. What am I going to do with some sand? Cars. Okay, what's a car? What's a mobile phone? You got a mobile phone in your pocket. What is that? Strip it down. It's just bits of metal, isn't it? It's just bits of pieces. Now, what are they individually? Absolutely nothing. Food is the same thing. You take it back down to food, it's just water and dirt. The opposite gender. You can think of the most beautiful person that you've been ever attracted to. That person, when they wake up in the morning, they are not what you think they are. Bad smells, deficiency they've woken up from, maybe they now need to go to the bathroom. They're doing things proclaiming that Allah is one, just in those actions. That this dunya is going to fade. That action that you're just looking at now happening is a personification that this dunya is going to end. Whether you ponder it or not, whether they need to say it to you or not, they don't need to say to you that, look, I'm the most person that you love the most and the most attractive, look at me now. They don't need to say that. But it only happens if you can ponder on it. And know that in the akhirah, it's not going to be anything like that. In the akhirah, what's your house made out of? Gold and silver. Gold and silver of the dunya. Ibn Abbas said that in the dunya and in the akhirah, nothing is alike. The only thing that's alike is the name. That's the only thing. So if Allah says He's going to give you water, that water is water that you've never experienced before. It's water, but it's just never experienced. Allah's going to give you a burger. You want a burger? Have a burger in Jannah. That burger is never going to be like any other burger that you've ever had before. Your wife, your cars, your houses, your rizq, and everything is eternal. And it will never fade. But nobody's really going to really understand that because most of us have shortcomings. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَعِذُكُمْ بِوَاحِدَةٍ. Allah is telling the Quraysh, telling the Prophet ﷺ, stand, think in pairs, think individually. Is your messenger, the person that has come to you, is he really what you think he is? Is he really mad? Is he really saying something which doesn't make sense? Or is he actually a warner? Is he actually here to make you think about yourself? Some of the ulama have said one of the biggest things, that one of the greatest acts of worship that you can do is to actually ponder, is to actually think. Now obviously this comes with conditions, etc. At the end of Surah al-Ghashiyah, Allah Jalla wa Ala is telling us to think about the dunya. He's thinking, right, you look at this animal, it's absolutely amazing, it brings a lot of fawaid, it brings a lot of benefits in your life. Look at the sky, how elevated it is. Look at the mountains, how strong they are. Look at the earth and how vast it is. Allah is telling us to contemplate on the one who has created all of this, and He has created it with perfection. Then isn't there something that is going to help you become perfect in yourself? If Allah has created this big mountain and it's absolutely perfect, it's absolutely strong, and He is the one that's put it there. If He has told you to do something, don't you think that you can become stronger and perfect like that mountain yourself? Of course you can. And these ayat here come as a conclusion from what Allah Jalla wa Ala in the rest of Surah al-Ghashiyah, Ghashiyah itself, is telling us to think about the akhirah. That this, no matter how vast and big and strong and beautiful you think it is, it's on this board, it's gonna go. It's gonna go. And that's what the dunya was created for. Allah Jalla wa Ala in this ayah here, فَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Don't they think and look at this board and look at this dunya and how it was given to people before us, but look what happened if they didn't give shukr and ponder on it properly. It only became their downfall. It only became their downfall. Now in fact, I know people also, millionaires, very, very rich, their own wealth is making them depressed. Their own wealth makes them commit suicide. Their own wealth makes them fall into diabetes. And then that makes them spiral down. There's one incident that actually happened very recently. The man, he had diabetes, he had a stroke, he's got a 7-bedroom house, he's a multi-millionaire. And he was, obviously he's married, he's got a family, and the man and the woman, they loved each other a lot. The man, he had a stroke and he passed away straight away. There wasn't any kind of period of, paralysis or anything like that. He had a stroke, it was a very bad one, and he was gone. The wife became depressed. They've got the whole dunya. Actually, if I can explain to you how much they have from this dunya, you think that if I was in that situation, I'd be happy for the rest of my life. But these people who are in that palace, they are not happy. They're not happy because of this. Because of this. And then she became depressed, and then she now is in hospital with some kind of a problem, which is a result of her depression and her sadness, and that's not her body's going down as well. So now the kids in the house, they lost their father. 6 or 9 months later, they've lost their mother. Mother's in hospital permanently. And these guys, they come home and say, I wish I could just have my father back for one day. I wish I could have my mother back. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to function because all this time we were so dependent on them. And now we don't even have a home-cooked meal, even though we've got millions of money. Allah make it easy for them and give us the insight and the correct understanding of why Allah has put us here. If you reflect on the transits of this dunya, then it's a gift that cannot be taken away. As in, it's the most precious gift that anybody can give you. Allah make us firm. The next chapter now here, this is from today's lesson, and I'm sorry because the previous chapters and even this one is going to be hastened, so you have to bear with me. Hastening to do good deeds. Allah Jalla wa Ala has told us in more than one ayah, hasten. Do good deeds. You've got a chance, do it right now. In this ayah, Allah is drawing a parable for you here now, and He's trying to make you think. Allah is saying, rush to Allah's mercy. Yeah? What does that mean? Do it now. Here's your chance. One ayah, you recite tenfold. Eat salah 27 times. Do it now. You give one sadaqah, you give half a day. Prophet ﷺ told us half a day can become like a mountain Yawm al-Qiyamah. Do it now and seek the Jannah of Allah. But then Allah is inciting us to seek His Jannah. How big is the Jannah? Allah is saying, Arduha as-samawatu wal-ard. The width of the Jannah is wider than the whole universe had it been even put together. All the earth, all the planets, all the universes, all the galaxies. Put that all together, and only Allah knows how wide and expansive. We can't even see it, even with the most powerful telescopes. Put that all together, the Jannah is still wider than that. The Jannah is still wider than that. That's what this ayah is saying, and it's prepared for those people who have taqwa. Now between each level of Jannah, so this is level Jannah, and there's another level Jannah here. What's the distance? 500 years of travel. 500 years of angels traveling each Jannah. How many are there? 7. Now let's try and picture this. The universe is probably about this big compared to the Jannah. The Jannah is wider and it's higher, and there's 7 of them. Allah is saying, hasten to do good deeds before those angels come and take you, because the biggest loss that can happen, if this is a universe, you're probably about that big, not even that big. How much of a calamity would it be if that you are that big and there's no space for you here? There's no space. Sorry, there's no room for you. Not even just one place. Just give me a little corner in Jannah. Not allowed. What if I buy it? We asked for something which was simpler than that, you didn't do it. But Jalla wa'ala is telling us, hasten to this, because this is the only way that you can get in. It's the only way. And it's the only way that your family can get in. There's some hadith here, and what I've done here is I've actually tried to categorize these hadith by subheadings. So the first hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us to hasten in good deeds, because there's going to become a time that there's going to be so much fitna that the fitna is going to envelop the earth like a dark canopy, like darkness. It's just going to envelop the earth. So you can imagine, you can look at the globe today and there is no light. There is no clouds. There's nothing. It's just a black ball of dhulm, fitna, darkness. The Prophet ﷺ said that turbulence is going to get like that. And the whole world will be in permanent darkness. There's no nur left. That fitna is going to be so bad that a man, he will wake up in the morning saying La ilaha illallah. When he goes to bed, he will be a kafir. I don't want to believe in Islam anymore. 12 hours, 10 hours later, he's going to sleep as a disbeliever. And the confusion is so bad, he wakes up as a kafir and then he goes to sleep as a mu'min. Confusion. Why is there so much confusion? Because people will sell their iman for the dunya. Fitna. I've put down here, people don't hasten to do good deeds because the level of fitna will become intensified. And we are living right now in a very uncertain world. Allah knows best if this is what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about right now. Maybe it's going to get worse. Maybe it was worse and it's got better and it's going to get worse again. But we do know it's going to get worse and it's going to be at its peak level of fitna when the Dajjal is there. Ibn Battal, one of the famous ulama who explained many hadith, said, hasten to do good deeds because things always change. How many times have you said, okay, well, I'm going to do this today. Today I'm going to read a juz from the Quran. I haven't done nothing for a whole week. I've not even looked at the Quran. But today, I'm just going to do one juz. It's going to take me half an hour, but I'm going to do it. But later. Then you think to yourself, oh, well, my phone is a bit attractive right now. Later. Another thought comes to you, well, why don't you just do it at night time? That's the time when everyone's sleeping and that's the time when Allah loves it. Keep looking at your phone, night time comes, the TV is there. Keep clicking. I'm tired now. Go to sleep. You didn't hasten. You kept putting off because when you put off, nothing good ever gets achieved. Allah Jalla wa Ala is telling us here, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Hasten, compete, race, do it quickly. You don't know when that moment is going to leave you. You don't know when that level of hidayah is going to leave you. That you've got that hidayah now to recite that juz, but later on you might think, I don't want to recite a juz. What's the point? How many people do that? People want to pray salah, but when it comes to it, they think, no, I don't want to do it. Ibn Battal said, because death can come to you anytime, nothing is certain. Fitna is definitely certain, and delaying has never brought about any good. Another hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Uqba bin Harith said, once I performed the Asr prayer in Medina behind the Prophet ﷺ, and after he made the taslim, his normal habit was to make the adhkar, sit there, talk to people. After Fajr, after Asr, he used to make his adhkar. But as soon as he made the taslim, he got up and he went into his house. And he said there was some gold that was from the zakat that I needed to pay. And I just remembered that straight after the salah. The Prophet ﷺ, what's the evidence here? What's the point of evidence here? The Prophet ﷺ, he realized that he had something that he had to do and he did it straight away. It's very easy. I'm part of a masjid and somebody actually gave us zakat in July. You know when he got paid? In September. Everyone just completely forgot about it. So I think somebody came in Ramadan and said, here's an envelope, there's some money in there, can you give it in zakat for me? So the person in the office said, yes, we'll give it in zakat for you, no problem. Put it in the cupboard. What did he do? Did he hasten? He didn't hasten. It was in the cupboard. I came in September, opened the, what is this envelope? Zakat, it's got the date on it. Akhi, this person now is 3-4 months late in doing one of the pillars of Islam because we didn't hasten. The Prophet alayhi salam hastened. But here we have something talking about wealth. And the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us here, and maybe even in his salah he was thinking about this, but definitely after his salah, that you use your wealth to do it in the proper manner. If you don't, then you end up here. Ibn al-Uthaymin rahimahullah, when he was explaining Riyadh al-Saaleheen, some people, they worship the dunya. They worship this. What does worship of this mean? What does it look like? He said, they submit to it. This is my objective. This is my objective. Status is my objective. They don't think about anything else. They are subservient to it. And when they wake up in the morning and when they go to sleep at night, that's all they're thinking about. He might pray, he might fast, he might go for Hajj, he might have a long beard. But if this is his objective, then this is where his iman is. One of the sifat that we know from them though, from the outward sifat, you don't know what's going on inside the people, but one of their biggest sifat is that when you give them the dunya, or when you give them whatever they want, they are happy. Everything is calm. If you don't give it to them, they become angered, they become worried, they become despair, they become depressed. For this reason, the Prophet ﷺ said that they are the worshippers of dinar and dirham. Hadith 89, 90 and 91. A man said to the Prophet ﷺ during the Battle of Uhud, tell me where I shall be if I die as a shaheed. The Prophet ﷺ said, you'll be in Jannah. So what did the man do? He had dates in his hand, he threw them away and he went straight to Uhud. Uhud is going on. Prophet ﷺ, he comes up to him and he goes to him, if I take part, what's going to happen? If I die, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to my family? Did he ask? What's going to my house? What's going to happen to me? He's got dates in his hand, he's eating them. Or he's preparing to eat them. He's got a nice fat burger. He's got a nice fat steak. He's got a nice fat car. He's got the best of clothes. He's asking Rasulullah, what could happen to me if I help you and hasten to do good deeds? He said, I'll give you Jannah. What did he do? He immediately removed the dunya from him. It's not about the dates. It's about the love. It's about this. There came a man to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O Messenger of Allah, which charity is most rewardable? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you should give when you're in a state of health and stingy and you fear poverty. When you give when the situation isn't so good and you are hoping that your situation is going to get better, but still you will give in sadaqah. We'll comment on that in a minute. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ again, 91. The Prophet ﷺ took up a sword on the day of Uhud and he said, who will take this sword from me? He picked up a sword, it's the day of Uhud again, and he said, who's going to help me in this battle? All of the companions that were around him started taking the hand and said, give it to me, Ya Rasul, give it to me, Ya Rasulullah. Prophet ﷺ said, who will take it with full responsibility, as in to defend Medina, to defend himself, defend Rasulullah? And Abu Dujana said, I will take it. What these hadith here tell us is that, again, delaying never brings about any good, but Ibn al-Qayyim said something which is very good about hastening to do good deeds, which is that the faster you try and do good deeds in the dunya, what happens in the akhirah? The faster you will be across the Sirat. The faster your deeds, the faster you accomplish them, the more you hasten, Allah will make you hasten across that Sirat. What is the Sirat? One side is the hellfire and the other side is Jannah. There is a line going across these two which is thinner than a hair and is sharper than a sword. And what's going to happen is this ummah are going to be at the back. And what's going to happen, we are going to witness people getting onto this and falling into the hellfire. People are trying to get across, slipping, falling in. So imagine, you're not the first one, you're seeing people do that. So imagine when it's your turn, how will you be? Ibn al-Qayyim said, your deeds will illuminate you. It'll be a vehicle for you and it'll take you across. Unfortunately, some of this ummah will not get across. It depends on your level of deeds. Hadith 92, when we went to Anas bin Malik and he complained of suffering at the hands of a Hajjaj. And a Hajjaj was a ruler and he oppressed a lot of people in his time. So Anas said, be patient, because no time will come but will be followed by another worse one. There's going to be a generation, but every generation will get worse until Yawm al-Qiyamah. And he said, I heard this from the Prophet ﷺ. So he's saying here, no matter how bad the situation is, right now, your situation is actually better than those people who are going to come after you. Prophet ﷺ in Hadith 93 said, hasten to do good deeds before you are overtaken by afflictions. Poverty, corruption, death, Dajjal, the hour itself. And this is the last hadith, and inshallah we'll stop here, which is the day of Khaybar. And the Prophet ﷺ, this is very important actually, this narration here. On the day of Khaybar, when they were trying to overtake Khaybar, the Prophet ﷺ told Ali radiallahu anh to go to Khaybar because they had actually been treacherous and they've broken the treaty. So what he told Ali radiallahu anh, he goes to them and he goes, go to them and give them da'wah to Islam. Give them da'wah to Islam. Because if Allah guides a man, one man from you, is better for you than many camels. Why is that important? Because jihad and fighting is never the default. Those people were treacherous, and it wasn't the first time, it was actually the second or third time they tried to assassinate Rasulullah, they tried to remove Islam from Medina, they tried to do a lot of bad things, but despite all of that, he told Ali radiallahu anh, go to them and remind them. Maybe they will listen. If they listen, then we don't want to fight. We don't want to kill people. But then that failed. So Rasulullah said, okay, now our only option is, and this is what they brought on themselves. They didn't want treaty, they proved treacherous. They didn't want peace, they proved treacherous. They didn't want to accept Islam, they rejected the da'wah. This is our last resort. We can't leave them because we've tried that and it didn't work. Prophet ﷺ said that a man will be given a banner and he will go forth, and through him, in a nutshell here, through him people will become victorious. And what we learn as a subheading from this is that one of the biggest things that you need to have in hastening and to do good deeds and being forthright in doing good deeds is to have sabr. You need to have sabr. Because everybody is going to be tested, and we learn in these hadith, you will be tested, and a generation is going to come, is going to be worse than yours, as Anna said. You are going to be tested until you get into your grave. And there's no generation that has been spared from that, and there is no generation that will be spared from that. But look what Ibn Hajr says, and this is a glad tidings for you. Every single one of us are here so that we can learn something, so that we can become better, and Allah will hopefully be happy with us, even if a little bit, and then we go to Jannah. We don't want to be in the hellfire, not even for 1 minute, especially not for eternity. Ibn Hajr said, what all the texts of Islam teach us, that it's absolutely difficult, it's more or less impossible for Tayyib now to do all the pillars, all the wajibat, all the sunnah, and all the nafil. Do you think he can do that in one day? It's more or less impossible. Ibn Hajr rahimahullah said that there is not one action, not one action that if you do this you'll go to Jannah. Just give me the key and I'll get into Jannah. There is not one key, there's not one master key that will get everyone into Jannah. There isn't. What all these ahadith say is that what a person must do is combine as much as he can. Prayer, fasting, being nice, being good to your parents, sadaqah, helping people, removing something harmful, all of this, combine all of it. But what it is that those people who hasten to do these, they will be elevated. They will be elevated. The people who will get the highest station in Jannah is not because this person, he was a master in Quran. This man was a master in Salat, or this man was a master in ilm. That's what he's saying here. He's saying that the way that you can get up to that station there with the 500 and the 500, the highest possible station that Allah has created you for, is by multiplying all of your good deeds. But you can only do that if you hasten for each one. Somebody comes in, you want to go to the masjid? Are you up for it? Yeah, let's go. There's a dars going on. Are you up for it? Let's go. Shall we revise? Let's go. Let's do it. If I'm able to do it, because he said that this is how people will be elevated. Otherwise, a person will only be called from one door if he has mastered that one thing. We know from Ramadan, a person who fasts a lot, he does optional fast and he does the wajibat fast, there's 8 doors and he'll be called from Riyadh, and then we enter it. If you have just mastered that one and you've done that properly, which is hard enough, then you have only limited your bets to that one door. That makes sense? Ibn Hajr here is saying, is don't do that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread them out. And by spreading them out, what's going to happen is you will see yourself being elevated. Wajibat, nawafil. Wajibat, nawafil. Increase, increase, and you will be increased. I ask Allah to make this beneficial for us all and give us the tawfiq to act upon them and save us and be happy with us and our family members. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Barakallah fi, jazakallah khair. Thanks for listening. I know it's been long. Shall we do another one?